Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
He's a big man. So when you have to add the honorable.
I am his chief of staff.
Of course.
I'm told there was there's a man in Cape Coast.
We've always been talking about
One
this.
day
When are you going
asked-
to stop?
One day asked, no, the way he mentions the John.
are you gonna
He
stop?
asked Kojo that, oh, that's your friend. Demu wenyipan. Ma otonobo boko no kasan. My friend then. So he said, oh, Elton John.
Sisi a John ye film.
Oh,
Sisi
really?
yeah.
No, John is still an
Elton
important.
Brobbey.
Elton John Brobbey.
My honorable.
And talking about, yes, over the weekend there was this festival at Winneba. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Awache. Colorful. And there is this chief priest whose phones got missing
At the event.
at the event.
Yes, I saw that story.
Yeah,
But how can a chief priest?
it's very interesting. And instead of conjoin the powers to retrieve the phone, she's rather going on also Owobudia.
No. So that's a good chief. That's a good priest.
Chief priest
That's a good priest.
who can locate her phone.
No.
She said her bag
No.
containing the phone and some money.
No. Listen. So the priest is saying, bring it, or
Owobudia.
Oh, Masa.
no. Hold on. Oh, this is
got it
rooted.
from-
No, this is rooted in African traditional religion. There are good spirits and evil spirits. Now he's giving them a chance to bring back the bag. But if you
Else?
don't bring it,
Uh,
that is when the thing will happen. So they know. They know who has it.
This chief priest doesn't even possess paracetamol to even do any harm to anybody. A chief priest who
but you would think that at an event like that, it would quickly be discovered.
yeah.
I mean, like,
Tony.
you should know where it is.
In fact, she was asked about the festival.
Oh, okay. So she's a priestess, eh?
Yes, of course. And her first response was that Obi my phone.
But I saw that story. But you see, I still believe that she will get it back. She's just giving them a chance to, do the right thing.
But people don't respect crime.
Absolutely.
How can you steal?
They
the
didn't know
phone
it
of
was
a
for the
priestess?
for the priestess. That's the priestess of the sacred shrine.
Yeah, exactly.
You wait and see.
So let's go for our Drive Safe campaign, which is brought to us by John News and Multimedia Group, supported always by Toyota, superior quality and Imperial General Assurance, solid protection. Avoid all distractions. Keep both eyes on the road and hands on the steering wheel. Drive safe.
Let's learn how to say it right. Brought to us by Kingdom Books. At Kingdom, quality and affordability are their hallmarks.
Something must be done.
You say either, I say either.
I spent a great deal of time in traffic the other day. I wasn't the one driving, so I suppose it could have been worse, but there were some moments that made me want to rip my hair out. For instance, several reckless drivers tried to cut in ahead of us, but our driver seemed reluctant to stand up for himself. Eventually, I asked about it. His explanation was, I don't want to horn at every car in front of us. Beloved, the correct expression is honk. H-O-N-K. Honk, not horn. A honk is actually the sound made by a goose. It is used to describe all sounds that resemble this cry, including the sound made by the horn of a car. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that the word honk sounds a lot like the sound itself. Honk. That type of word is known as onomatopoeia. O-N-O-M-A-T-O-P-O-E-I-A. Onomatopoeia. There are many delightful examples of onomatopoeia in the English language. Buzz, pop, sizzle, slurp, fizz, bang, plop, squeak, hiss. All these words sound very much like the sounds they are describing, and honk is no exception. Remember, we honk at cars, we don't horn at cars. That's how you say it right.
All right, so let's get into the news review brought to us by First Atlantic Bank, refreshingly different.
All right, I'd like to start with a daily graphic newspaper. On the front page, the banner headline, latest casualty firefighting hits a snag. Galamsey devastates water resources. It's just a sharp reminder of the devastation, the effects of Galamsey. Again, that the Daily Graphic is highlighting, and it says firefighting operations in parts of the country are the latest casualty of illegal mining, commonly called galamsey locally. Firefighting officials have lamented. They say the consequences of galamsey have gone beyond merely polluting water bodies and sources and now impacting water availability in the right volumes for fire emergencies. That reminds me of that event that's coming up on Thursday and Fridays.
Yes, Thursday and
policy
Friday.
events.
It's Graphic Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources collaboration on our environment, and I've told you that yours truly,
You will be there.
I'll be there as the MC for the event. It's a 2-day event.
We need to hold them. We need to. I don't know what else can we do in this fight.
Just galamsey.
Yes.
Now it's becoming it's becoming something that has been accepted, especially in the local communities, because of maybe the amount of money that they derive from the operations of illegal mining. And you have people who have been tasked to fight this thing now themselves neck deep in this operation. So it is a very difficult subject, a very difficult operation. The success of it is becoming extremely difficult to achieve.
You see, in the past, so if you go to my hometown of Mpoho, they used to call it, still call it Geshe. And in the past, it was artisanal mining. They were not destroying the environment like it is today.
Right.
So in the past, when anybody was engaged in Geshe or galamsey, it wasn't really an issue. But today, they've destroyed the water bodies. And that's the concern today. You're right. Look, Kwame Jan was here. Lawyer Kwame Jan was here. And he said that, look, today, if you're not careful, even the soldiers and the police that are sent on Operation Vanguard, they go, there's not them go, and they go and collect money from
But
these
if
guys.
you check Professor Paul Watson's letter to the chief of staff, there's a part where he mentioned that some soldiers and policemen who were part of the task force were rather taking money from the, and sometimes they will call the illegal miners ahead of their visit. By the time they are there, they will not find them because of all of
Look,
these.
and in the Paprama forest, when Erastus Asaridonko went there, you saw the company, which was, and the signpost said land reclamation, and they were engaged in illegal mining in the forest, protected by military men. So you ask yourself that simple question: are we really serious about this fight? And for me, I'm happy about one thing. On Thursday, the president will be there. The Lands and Natural Resources Minister will be there. And in setting the tone for the conversation, some of these questions will be asked, hoping that we'll hear answers about these. Because it doesn't look like we're prepared. And look, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources in 2017, John Pitame, who reminded all of us how if we're not careful by 2030, we'll be importing water. But if we felt that was not serious enough, the UN has reported that by 2050, the next global wars will be fought on water.
But again, the question is, are you not tired of hearing them say that we are so committed to the fight against illegal mining? In fact, the things you're going to hear on Thursday, have you not heard it before?
That's the point.
But so this is also gone beyond what we know, because the import of the story in the graphic today is the fact that there's low pressure in water service lines to the hydrants of the fire service.
Of course.
So National Fire Service is saying that if we don't take care, it will be impossible for us to get water to fight fires.
Of course.
That's what it is now.
I mean,
So it's just
Mamavi, I don't know
horrendous.
whether you've watched this viral video of water coming from the tap, highly polluted in parts of the Ahafo region, Gozo to be precise. And so what we are seeing, in fact, Ghana Water Company, they've made it clear that treating water has become extremely expensive. And if you are unable to do so, what you're going to get in your taps is the kind of water that we've seen coming from Gozo. So,
well, Winston, please carry Moses Doche Akloboto's story to the president on Thursday. We beg you. And this is fire service also sharing their angle of it. There's one more story that I want to highlight in the Daily Graphic, Elton, before you come in. It's laws on false reporting essential. And this is crucial. It's coming from Professor Samuel Dateba. That's a former Supreme Court judge, really celebrated judge. And he says that we should be careful about these laws that we've been talking about. One, the Electronic Communications Act and the Criminal Code, sections 208 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act, they've been criticized lately as stifling freedom of speech. And he says that such laws existed to regulate mischief. Hence, conversations about the scrapping of such laws must be subjected to a process to see if they still served a purpose under the current legal regime. I think it's a very good angle for us to reflect on and see if it still serves the purpose.
That would be great. But I think there's a story about what Tema Central, eh?
Oh, yes. It's 5 more days
Yes.
to the D-Day. And the politics page of the Daily Graph is highlighting the contest in Bone, Katamanso, Nigo, Pram, and 4 others, including Tema Central. My favorite, Abby Bright, is there. I can't believe that she's still not a member of parliament. I think she's a fantastic resource. But then you said Tema East.
This is Tema Central, right?
Yes,
Right.
Tema Central.
Abby Bright is Tema Central.
Tema Central. It would be very difficult for her to. She
Again?
can win the primaries, but to be a member of parliament, you know, the margin is some. I think she pulled 16,000, and
That's against
the
what?
candidate pulled 31,000.
That's a wide
15,000. And I'm sorry, 15,000 human beings is not easy.
But it's possible.
Unless
Different strategy.
Unless in the NPP there is a split with somebody going independent, or the people say they do not like this man, the current MP, and the party forces the MP on them, then they say we are not going to vote. Even at that one, unless there's an independent candidate. So Tema Central, write it off, safe seat.
Right. The outcome of the 2020 parliamentary elections, some of the constituencies, is something that you can say that this could be possible.
Oh, you see, for some of the
will be
constituencies,
bad time
these
for
were
her.
swing. I mean, these were swing constituencies. Which so there's a lot of discussions. For instance, if you were to go to Mpoho, for instance, the margin between MPP and NT is around 2,000, 2,005. Even in some parts of the north, it's around 2,000, 1,005. But it's very difficult to actually beat those
overtake.
margins. The challenge, however, is that when you are seen not to be doing well, the people will decide to punish your member of parliament. And we saw it in the central region where President Akufo-Addo won in 19 constituencies, but his party, the NPP, had only 10 MPs. And then he had 13 MPs. Because for many people and for many watchers, the voters decided to punish the party for certain things that they did against them. But yes, we'll vote for the presidential candidate, or for the member of parliament, we'll vote against him.
All right.
Time lucky. Abby.
So talking about politics, on the front page of the Daily Guide, Bawumia goes home for blessing. We are told that he's already met the MPP parliamentary caucus, so he's still engaging stakeholders ahead of a formal announcement of his intention to contest the flag bearership race of the MPP.
But he will contest.
BMW.
Of course, I mean there's no doubt about
He will
it.
contest. He has his campaign managers and campaign directors.
So now
already.
he's been blessed.
He's not going for the blessing.
He's not going for the
He's going to
blessings.
the
All right. No
Nairi was
blessings.
going to meet
Of course.
the secretaries. But there was a conversation the last time. Somebody asked me a question. He said, should the vice president also resign? And I said no. The vice president wouldn't resign. Ali Muhammad did not resign when he wanted to be flag bearer of the NPP. I mean, one of the few persons whose positions are guaranteed.
Of course.
The president and the vice president, they know. You know who's going to be president, who's going to be vice president, even before the elections are over. So his position is guaranteed. And so it doesn't look like he would resign. However, there's also the incumbency advantage that people would question. And so at what point in time, for instance, would he say, I'm going on a campaign trip? And at what point in time would he say, I'm going on an official tour, for instance? Can he then decide that, okay, as part of his official tours, he goes to campaign? Would that be abuse of incumbency? Many would say yes. So at that moment, he probably should distinguish between his official responsibilities and his campaigning duties.
Well, as for the abuse, I'm sure that they will continue to.
We don't have to encourage abuse.
To
Is
January
the privilege
2025.
that you enjoy.
Yeah, of course.
isn't it?
As
No, we don't
vice
have
president.
to. We don't have to encourage
You
abuse.
see, and this puts you in an advantageous position against the other people you are contesting with, because you are a sitting vice president. Your office is accorded some privileges and courtesies, and you're going to enjoy this until January 2025. That is if the MPP will still be in power. But I mean, that's what it is. Still on the Daily Guide, Parliament set to grill new chief justice. Now the committee on appointment, they've already outlined the steps towards the formal vetting. So if you have any issue against the nominee, you have until Friday, May 19, 2023, to communicate your issues to the committee.
That's next week, Friday.
Exactly. So you have until that day to do so. And the committee after that will sit on May 24 for the vetting to take place. So this is the outline from the committee on appointment to vet the Chief Justice nominee. Now, there's a very interesting story here. Now, this lady went to church in search of a miracle and came home with burns. That's according to the Daily Guide. And the pastor has been arrested as well.
The lady who eventually died.
Exactly.
Okay.
So a popular pastor at Achim, Asawasi in the Eastern Region, Isaac Wachem, has been arrested in connection with the death of a 42-year-old woman, Amoah in Kansapia. Amoah is said to have died as a result of burns from a spiritual oil applied to her body by the suspect, probably known as Pastor Owusu. During a deliverance service at the church, Pastor Owusu allegedly administered what was intended to be anointing oil to the woman's body. And the incident happened on April 25th at Achim, Asawasi, suburb of Achim, Awisa, in the Brimsar district. According to Ajua Gloria, the deceased younger sister, Amoah went to the preacher for spiritual deliverance, and she came home with burns. They took her to hospital, and she died from her wounds.
Well, I mean, it's good that the pastor has been arrested, but I mean,
But you have a strong case against him. Can they get conviction? You know, because I read the story and there were lots of questions in there.
Well, but let's see. Maybe I mean, now that he's been arrested, let's see what may happen. But look, you see why I like. I'm not really a fan of Paul Kagame, but I like his approach to doing things when it comes to religion. For instance, a lot of people who need mental health assistance are out there as preachers of the Word of God, performing miracles you never understand. And I'm happy we're having this conversation today because a lot of them should not be doing the things they do. I come across some people, all the time. They say, "Go and do this, go and do that," and I look at it and I say, "Why should I go and do what and what and what and what?" Please, I am convinced by one thing: if I also pray, God will listen.
Of course.
That's the thing. I think
if I pray, God will listen.
We need to we have to keep saying this. And sadly, there are people who are Christians who also think that Jesus is not enough. That
you have
to add something.
Exactly.
You have to add someone. And I think that's the issue. That's the issue. We're chasing non-existent miracles.
Of course. All right. And then finally on the Daily Guide, man arrested over journalist attack. Last week there was this viral video, an NDC communicator stormed a radio station and then manhandled the presenter, threatening to remove his teeth and all that. Now he's been arrested and assisting the police in their investigation.
It's good. It's good that he's been arrested.
The final newspaper reports Akufo-Addo, Canadian Prime Minister, hold bilateral talks. NPA cautions motorists not to buy fuel from tabletops. So tabletops. I
don't know. But Nigeria,
why do we still do that?
I don't get it. Ghana.
Why don't they just go ahead and shut down
Those
such
who are selling?
tabletop
Yeah,
operations?
exactly.
Well, and then there's also a call: don't use concrete to build motorway. Asphalt will save 15 to 20% of cost. That's according to the construction chamber.
We have enough time. So yes, quickly let's look at
We have the Ghanaian Times reviews sections of District Assembly Election Act to address low voter turnout. There's also the story about Ghana Immigration Service intercept 800 parcels of Indian hemp. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to ban them?
Oh yeah.
We'll bend them.
That's what we do.
We'll pretend to bend them. Let's go online. Let's do the online review brought to us by Zenith Bank in your best interest. Goyle Good Energy.
And Goyle, of course, is your oil marketing company of choice, and it keeps making life ever so convenient. Goyle accepts Momo for all fuel purchases. They also accept bank cards, all bank cards you can use to buy fuel at Goyle. So drive to the nearest Goyle station now, buy your fuel, pay by Momo, bank card, or Goyle Go card. Visit their social media platforms, getting more information on the service stations you can conveniently use Momo. Goyle.official is Facebook, Goyle_GH Instagram, and on Twitter, Goyle_official. Goyle, good energy, Goyle. Yeah, dim.
And on myjoyonline.com this morning it says Ghana School of Shame, a child's tears for table and chair. You should read that story. And I am joining politics to show them how it should be done. Professor Brenya there.
Go for it, man.
An MPA cautions Volta and Oti residents against smuggling of fuel to Togo. Now, I told you about that article, why government is different, by Appleby. I'll share it with you. And when you read it, you'd understand why sometimes a good lawyer doesn't become a good judge, and why a good person in private will not become a good person in public life.
I hope that they won't show him how the politics
I
is
have
done.
just told you something. Now, we will not rest until government pays us. That's pension bond holders.
Oh, why
Now,
are we
they'll
here
continue
again?
today.
I just don't understand
Why?
it's so difficult. Now, some of them are waiting for their principals, and we can't pay that.
But according to Senor Hosi, the committee that was set up to come to some understanding as to how to pay them, they've concluded their work, and the expectation is that by the end of this month they will pay them. Remember that the pensioners did not take part in this committee meeting.
Let's go for the BBC News.
And it's brought to us by